Welcome back. It is day 2 in the manhunt for the gunman behind the targeted killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside of a Manhattan hotel. Police released this chilling surveillance video showing Thompson in a blue blazer as a masked man walks up behind him, raises his handgun. We've paused the video right before several shots are fired at close range. This is not the video I'm talking about. After the shooting, the gunman hopped on an e-bike and disappeared into Central Park. The New York Post is also reporting now that the NYPD is investigating a possible message that the assassin may have left on the bullets he used to kill Thompson, which appear to include the words deny, depose, and defend, engraved on live rounds and shell casings. Thompson's wife told NBC News that he had previously been receiving threats. We're also learning that Thompson was one of several senior executives at United Healthcare under investigation by the Department of Justice for insider trading. Joining me now is Fox News contributor and former FBI special agent Nicole Parker. Nicole, thanks so much for being here this morning. What is your thinking on the motive behind this shooting death?
That is the million-dollar question right now. I think right now what they're trying to determine is who did this, who is responsible for this, and where is he? Because that individual must be held accountable and he needs to be brought to justice. I mean, watching the surveillance video, it is just so cold, calculated. He was undeterred. There was actually a woman to his right as he's shooting Mr. Thompson. He didn't care, and he proceeds to go forward. There were, sedans, there were vehicles, SUVs right in front of the hotel with witnesses inside those vehicles. He didn't care. He continues to proceed towards him. I saw the entire surveillance video. I know a lot of the media is cutting it off at a certain point because it is highly disturbing. But he goes up and he looks at him to make sure, the job is done. He crosses the street, and then he kind of frolics around and goes and gets on the e-bike. So I think it's highly, highly disturbing. It is definitely a very strong motive and grievance that this individual had that would cause him to do this. But again, this is a man from Minnesota. The murder took place in New York. There is no coincidence here. This was highly orchestrated, and they wanted it to be on the front stage of the media, and that is exactly what happened.
What about those messages on the bullets? Deny, depose. I'm wondering, and this is just my own speculation, but I'm wondering if, he was about to do some kind of a plea deal to tell, the DOJ investigators, that somebody was insider trading, and that's why they took him out. What do you think?
That is absolutely a possibility. I put, take nothing off the table at this point because we're just at the very beginning stages of this investigation. But those shell casings, that is chilling. And in shell casings, people don't really think about that, but there's a lot of evidence that can come out of shell casings. And the fact that there were words inscribed on them, that is very, very telling. So let's wait and see what the investigators come up with. But like I've said before, the most important thing is that this person is identified and that he is brought into custody. And Maria, somebody knows this shooter. Somebody knows that this individual did this, and they need to report it to law enforcement. Right now, there is a cash reward. I think they should up the cash reward substantially. But I do believe that someone knows who this individual is, and that is the greatest hope, in my opinion, of getting cooperation from the public to give as many tips as possible to lead them. But they're going to be looking at all the surveillance video, not just from when the incident occurred, but tracking that individual going back in time as far back as possible and looking for as much evidence. And the phone that was found in the alley, that is a treasure trove of information if that was indeed the murderer's phone.
Can you imagine the woman standing in the corner there? We just showed that video that you're referring to. Go back to that video for a second, guys. You see this woman standing there in the corner as the shooter shoots and then follows him further to make sure he's dead. There's a bystander there. She looks at the shooter, and then she tries to get out of the way. He basically first points the gun at her, like, get out of here. She leaves, and then he continues finishing the job here. That is, imagine this woman. I guess authorities try to speak to her and the cars that are on the street as well. A couple of people were witnesses, and they did speak to the authorities.
Absolutely. And those individuals, again, this person had no regard that there were people just standing right there. I mean, that woman had to have been just a couple feet from him. He wasn't going to stop at anything. He had been planning this, and this was going to happen no matter what.
Unbelievable.
And it's sick.
Nicole, let me move on. President-elect Donald Trump officially nominating Kash Patel for the director of the FBI to replace Director Christopher Wray. You were at the FBI for many years. I spoke with Kash Patel just last week on how the trust in government agencies has plummeted. And how can you, I asked this question, how can you restore trust in the FBI? Watch this.
exposure of corruption. Put out the documents, put out the evidence. We only have gotten halfway down the Russiagate hole. The people need to know that their FBI is restored by knowing full well what they did to unlawfully surveil them. The people need to know that there has been a de-weaponization, a defanging of the Department of Justice, and their houses of worship will no longer be raided. But they need to be shown the documents that said this was the reasoning they weaponized justice. And that, in my opinion, is how Congress can most importantly secure the trust or resecure the trust of these agencies and departments.
So, Nicole, I want to get your take on Kash Patel. Americans' trust in the FBI is at the lowest point this century. Just 41% say that they rate the job being done at the FBI as excellent or good. That's 41%, according to a recent Gallup poll. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley also put the FBI and the DOJ on notice. He wrote a letter to Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland earlier this week, expressing concerns because he received reports that employees in both agencies are destroying records, and they're destroying documents in an effort to conceal what has been widespread misconduct that took place during the Biden administration. Nicole, you lived this. Tell us about the FBI.
All right, so let me just tell you that Gallup poll survey, that is an indication of the massive distrust in the FBI within the last 10 years. I was there, Maria. I started in 2010. I walked through this entire process. I lived it firsthand. I can tell you the Russia collusion hoax, starting back in 2014, 15, 16, that, in my opinion, was the beginning of the downfall of the FBI while I was there. The problem that occurred was that Christopher Wray comes in. Donald Trump fires Jim Comey, as he should have, rightfully so. He should have never been there. Christopher Wray comes in, and it's as if nothing even happened. That was a huge mistake. He should have come in there and said, look, FBI, we have made major mistakes. We are broken right now, and we need to get fixed. He never did that. He came in, kind of swept the problems underneath the rug. They were never properly addressed. There was never proper accountability. And my hope is that the new FBI director comes in and says, you know what? We are broken, first presenting it to the employees. There are people in this organization that have ruined the FBI. Okay, Maria, we know that there are good agents there. I was a good agent. My best friend who was killed protecting children, she is a hero. She is not corrupt. There are good people holding the line, but those that have destroyed it must be held accountable. So what the new director has to do is get rid of the corruption, expose, and say, yes, this is what's been going on. It is wrong. But we're going to build up the good people at the FBI. We're going to bring in the good agents. We're going to help them rise to the occasion, and we're going to support them and give them resources that they need to actually protect Americans and uphold the Constitution. There's nothing more that FBI agents want right now than real leadership. Yeah. They are craving it because they have been without it for the last 3 directors that have been former U.S. attorneys, and it's just been horrible for the agency. Yeah. So it's time to restore truth and to restore trust. So this destruction of documents, Maria, that is disgusting, and those people must be held accountable.
Yeah, so who do you think first corrupted the FBI? How did this happen? How did this politicization happen? Was it going back to the Obama administration? Why were they so political and so intent on taking down Donald Trump?
You nailed it, because they just did not want him in office. And again, I started under the Obama administration. I will be the first to tell you, I did not vote for Obama, but I was told when I came into the FBI, it doesn't matter who's in the White House because your job is to uphold the Constitution. I actually believe that, but then I came to realize, no, under Obama's administration and the Biden administration, if you were not on board with their agenda, then you were not in the in group. And they would do anything that they needed to do to take down President Trump. Well, you know what? He won this election fair and square, and he is going to restore trust in the FBI.
Great.